Horizon Zero Dawn is a game that I have a lot of affection for. And before I started my Horizon Forbidden West playthrough, I thought it would be nice to just make a short video talking about my experience with the first game, the original game. Because it was one of those experiences that really made me want to start a Let's Play channel in the first place. Obviously, I don't have a Horizon Zero Dawn playthrough on the channel. I played it a couple of years before I started my channel, and when I was making my way through the game, one of the thoughts I kept having as I discovered new mysteries and new aspects of the game was how much I thought I wanted to share the experience and discuss it with other people who were going through it as well. And so in a lot of ways, this game was one of the big reasons that I started my channel in the first place. So I'm really excited to get to share my experience with the sequel with all you guys. And the game itself, I was so intrigued by the mystery and the history of the demise of humanity and the whole apocalypse of the entire Earth, really, that happened due to the Pharaoh plague, and how Aloy, through no fault of her own, was right at the epicenter of all of it. And as I was playing through the introduction to the game, I remember when Aloy is in the caves, in the All-Mother bit, in the Nora Caves, I believe, and she's at the door that no one's been able to open ever since they discovered it. And that hologram pops up of Elizabeth Sobeck. And at that moment, I remember thinking...
It's not getting any warmer out here.
No, it's not. I remember thinking, God, what are we dealing with here in a sci-fi sense? Are we dealing with a time traveler? Because Elizabeth obviously looks incredibly similar to Aloy because it's for obvious reasons. But, you know, it looked different enough where, was it a time traveler, I thought? Aloy thought it might have been her mother. And that mystery was really the driving force behind the whole game. And when that bit happened, I was all in on the game then. I was always so desperate, so eager to learn more about the old world and how it all went so wrong for everyone back then. And just the drive that I had to explore and discover more, I was just so eager the whole time. And then there was Aloy's personal journey itself, where she was a lifelong outcast, really, all of a sudden becoming a real hope and saviour for the rest of humanity. So it was a nice contrast, really. We already had the contrast between the old world and the new world, and then we had the contrast between Aloy and the rest of humanity, who she'd felt quite resentful to, but was all of a sudden responsible for. And then, of course, we got to see all of the new technology, all the new machines that were this mysterious presence throughout the land, that were a threatening presence for the most part to the people. And yeah, it was just always so stunning discovering all the new machines, like the tall necks, so if you ran into a thunderjaw or a stormbird, and the gameplay loop of finding the right strategy to deal with certain machines. Had a real tactical element that was really enjoyable, using the right combination of tools to bring them down in various different ways, using all the right strategies. Was really enjoyable. And then just the sheer scale of the game, from the ruins to the towns to the old tech and the new tech, it all just mixed together in this really unique way that was quite unforgettable. One thing I particularly enjoyed throughout the game were the stories of the characters from the past, through various audio logs, sort of hologram memories and text logs and all sorts of stories of the various scientists and just normal people in the military who were coming to terms with the end of the world and what they were doing to either try and stop that, or people who really weren't in a position to try and stop it, just trying to decide how they were going to live out the short period of time they had left on the Earth. And it was a strange one because in a lot of ways the characters from the past were some of the like shining characters of the story, from like the inspirational Elizabeth Sobeck to the sort of selfish and vile Ted Faro, and all the other scientists who were surrounding them were really fascinating. But there were also characters in the present cultures, all of the emerging, I don't know, would you call them countries or cultures? So from the Nora to the Osram, and all the little towns that sprang up along the way that had their all weird and wonderful elements to them. You know, we ran into like characters like Erend and Val, and it would be nice to see where Aloy's sort of personal character development moves on in the next game, because it felt like Zero Dawn was so focused on Aloy learning her origins and where she came from and how everything led here. It'll be interesting to see how in Forbidden West her character develops in terms of going into the future, although after the kind of big sequel, the main sort of bit of sequel bait that they did at the end of the game with Silence will obviously be a concern for Aloy moving forward. It'd be nice to see how her character develops and changes into her own person as she gets a bit older. But going into any sequel, I'm always extremely nervous. I think I have quite a bad track record with sequels on my channel, so I'm a little bit apprehensive about that. But because the whole story of what happened in the past with the old world was wrapped up so well, and we learned everything that happened with Gaia, with Elizabeth, with Pharaoh, and how everything came to be how it is. I'm really intrigued to see where they take the story from the past, because I can't imagine playing one of these games without a story from the past and it only being about the present. I'm not sure how that would go, because the story from the past was such an integral part of the writing and narrative experience of the first game, so I'm a bit nervous. I don't really know how they're going to implement stories from the past, or if they do at all in Forbidden West. So it'll be interesting to see where they take that. Considering this was Guerrilla's first attempt at an open world game like this, a third-person perspective game, so much new stuff for the studio, it's surprising how well it all turned out, right? But even though it's a game that I love, it definitely wasn't without its faults. I feel like the human against human combat was a little bit bland. Felt like the game wasn't really designed for that, so the bandit camps and stuff were never really too interesting to take down. It was really the combat with the machines that was the standout in terms of the gameplay formula. So if there is combat against humans in Forbidden West, I hope that they've made it a bit deeper, but you never know. And some of the side quests in the game definitely felt like they were maybe written by a different team than the main campaign. So yeah, maybe some of the dialogue writing in the side quests, I'd like to see that improve a bit. But the main quest stuff, I just want more of the same. That'd be great. But obviously we're going to be leaving this whole area behind, I believe. Going to be, if I'm remembering right, I think that most of this area is it supposed to be around Yellowstone National Park? I think that's where the volcano is in the northern part. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, there'll be new cultures, I imagine. So I'll be leaving a lot of this stuff behind. But one of the obviously amazing parts of the game was just how stunning and beautiful it is and was. Obviously this is the PC version of the game, but I played the game originally on PS4. And even on PS4 it looked amazing. But moving through the various different biomes, it's just a stunning game, right? It's the Decima engine that just has beautiful weather effects, skyboxes, great draw distances, and it just looks fantastic, right? I know that they used this, they allowed Death Stranding to be made on this engine as well, and yeah, great waterfalls, amazing weather. I'm really excited to see how much more beautiful they can make the sequel. And they didn't just leave it at the main game. The Frozen Wilds DLC was one of the best DLCs I've ever played. I'd honestly hold it up there with The Witcher 3's 2 expansions, because it was so... It didn't feel like much of it was recycled. There were new enemies, a whole new area, the wonderful deep snow effects that were so joyful just to walk around in, like those big footsteps in the snow. And what gives me hope for the story in Forbidden West is the story that they wrote in the Frozen Wilds here, because this was related but also disconnected from the main story, but it was still enthralling and connected to the past and the old technology and still fascinating in every way. So yeah, and obviously I'm going to be playing this quite just after they've released the DLC for Forbidden West. I think it's called Burning Shores. So we'll be playing that all together. So I'm very excited to see all the new weather effects, the new biomes that they've made, just because I regularly load this game up just to walk around, particularly here in the snow. It's just so joyous walking around, as long as you maybe avoid some of the machines while you're trudging around in the beautiful landscape. One memory I always remember from the first time playing through was when I was wandering around on the map. I wasn't really following any particular objectives, and I found this cauldron without intending to. It was the first cauldron that I found, and the kind of weird architecture I found it so mysterious and fascinating, and how the technology wasn't really like a lot of the other technology we'd found. The sort of triangular shape of all the entrances, all of the tunnels were all covered in wires. It felt like it wasn't intended for a human being to really walk through. Really reminded me of the machine world in the Matrix, and I just really loved the architecture of the cauldrons, and it's a moment that I always remember really vividly. And some of the fights you had against some of the bigger machines, like I mentioned the Thunderjaws before, it was so epic the first time you took one of them down. Stormbirds as well, heavy use of the rope caster, and they were just so larger than life, so awe-inspiring to take down. Yeah, like I think that the moment early on in the game with the Elizabeth Sobeck hologram, the first time I went into a cauldron, seeing some of the old world machines for the first time, like the really massive ones that were responsible for destroying the Earth, and how the mystique around them as being these machines that you couldn't defeat was also really, really interesting. It was, I think that the mix of it, because this version of humanity is very different, right? Because they're going to invent technologies based on old and new technologies and sort of retro-engineer them, and it's such a cool way to shape their cultures, right? Because you have the old tech, you have like the good old tech, you have the evil old tech, and then you have the sort of weird new stuff, like with the machine animals that roam around, like in the cauldrons. So there's this weird mishmash of humans growing up around this kind of technology that gives everything this really unique flavor that just sort of concocted into a gaming experience that I just really enjoyed, despite some of its flaws. They weren't massive flaws, but you know, when everything came together, the holistic experience in Zero Dawn was just unforgettable. That's been a brief summary of my experience with Horizon Zero Dawn. A really special experience that I always remember fondly. I've avoided any and all spoilers or trailers or anything from Forbidden West, so I'm a bit nervous, as you tend to be with sequels of games you really enjoyed, but I'm quite confident that they'll have built on things in a really satisfying way. The stories from the old world, I hope we get more of them, because they were really captivating. I'm excited to see how Aloy's character development goes. You know, I'd like to see her, I don't know, just see how her character develops maybe as she gets a bit older. I'm not really too sure how old or how much longer it's been in terms of time jumps to the sequel, but I'm interested to see how all of that goes. I know it's meant to be a bit more of an iterative sequel, perhaps, same engine and stuff, but that means they'll have perfected things, I think. And it'll be the first game that I'll be playing on PS5, so all really exciting stuff. So yeah, Horizon Forbidden West playthrough, it's going to be starting tomorrow. I hope you join me for that, guys. Let me know what your experience was like with Horizon Zero Dawn. It's one of my favourite games from the last generation. So I hope you join me tomorrow. Leave me a like if you enjoyed the video. And just remember, everyone, never trust an on crate. I'll see you next time.